it going? Night Owl here. Welcome back to my Hoot Crew. I hope you are all having a great day. Welcome to all the new members and welcome back to all my old Hoot Crew members. So today I'm going to be reading to you again from the Boundaries book. So where we ended last time was still in the chapter of what do boundaries look like, and in behaviors is where we finished at that point. And so now we're going to start with choices, because we all know we have choices. You have the choice to say yes and you have the choice to say no. Sometimes we say we have no choice because we feel like if we say no, that people are going to get all upset and get mad at us and whatever else. But see, it's not our responsibility to make others happy. I do ask you before I start reading to forgive this and this. I am having my carpet replaced at the end of August, so I am packing up my toys to move everything around a bit so that we can get the carpet done and then we'll get back to normal, hopefully. So that is why I am in mom hair bun mode and whatever. So please forgive it, but this is what you're getting today. All right, so where we're beginning is choices. So it says, we need to take responsibility for our choices. This leads to the fruit of self-control, which is in Galatians, chapter 5, verse 23. A common boundary problem is disowning our choices and trying to lay the responsibility for them on someone else. So think for a moment how often we use the phrase, I had to, or she made me, or he made me, when explaining why we did it or did not do something. These phrases betray our basic illusion that we are not active agents in many of our dealings. We think someone else is in control, thus relieving us of our basic responsibility. So that's basically what I just said. So if we say yes to someone else, something we know we needed to do, we kind of put it on the back burner and we become procrastinators. So we need to realize that we are in control of our choices, no matter how we feel. So doing so keeps us from making choices to give reluctancy or other compulsion, as in 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 7, it says, Paul would not even accept a gift that he felt was given because the giver felt that it had to or he had to give it. He once sent back a gift so that any favor you do would not seem forced, would be voluntary, which is in Philemon chapter 1 verse 14, where Joshua said the same thing to people in his famous choices verse, but if serving the Lord seems undesirable to you, then choose for yourselves the day whom you will serve. In Joshua 24 verse 15, emphasis added. So, basically what it's saying is, if someone gives you a gift, they're doing it because they want to. Maybe they're doing it because they had to, but don't give back to them because you feel like that's the tradition, that's the obligation. If you cannot afford to, or if you just, it's do it because you want to do something back. Don't do it because you feel like you're forced to do that in that situation. Another example, the lawn. I can't even read today. I am so sorry. Okay. The landowner in Jesus' parable of the workers in the vineyard said a similar thing to the worker who was angry about the wage for which he agreed to work. I am not being unfair to you, friend. Didn't you agree to work for a denarius? Which I'm not sure what the currency is in that. Which is in Matthew chapter 20, verse 13. The man had made a free choice to work for a certain amount and was angry because someone who had worked fewer hours had gotten the same wage. Another example is the prodigal son's brother who had chosen to stay home and serve and then was resentful, not satisfied with his choice. He needed to be reminded that he made the choice to stay home. Throughout the scriptures, people are reminded of their choices and asked to take responsibility for them. Like Paul says, if we choose to live by the Holy Spirit, we will live. If we choose to follow our sinful nature, we will die. In Romans 8:13. Making decisions based on others' approval or on guilt breeds resentment. So we end up feeling anger towards these people sometimes because of the choices we make. A product of our sinful nature. We have been so trained by others that we should do what we think we are being loving when we're doing things out of compulsion. So if we do stuff out of the fact that we think we have to, we feel like we're getting that love back. But when we don't get that love back, we end up resenting that person or feeling bad or whatever, right? So setting boundaries inevitably involves taking responsibility for your choices. You are the one who makes them. You are the one who must live with their consequences, and you are the one who may be keeping yourself from making the choices you could be happy with. Now here's the values part. What we value is what we love and assign importance. Often we do not take responsibility for what we value. We are caught up in valuing the approval of other human beings rather than the approval of God, which John chapter 12, verse 43. Because of this misplaced value, we miss out on life. So we think that power, riches, and pleasure will satisfy our deepest longing, which is really for love. When we take responsibility for our out-of-control behavior caused by loving the wrong things or valuing the things that have no lasting value, when we confess that we have a heart that values things that will not satisfy, we can receive help from God and His people to create a new heart within us. Boundaries help us to deny but to own our own hurtful values so God can change them. So here's the next one is limits. Two aspects of limits stand out when it comes to creating better boundaries. The first is setting limits in others. This is the component that we most often hear about when we talk about boundaries. In reality, setting limits on others is a misnomer. We can't do that. So we can't set limits for others. What we can do is set limits for what we will and will not accept, for what we will and will not do. What we can do is set limits on our own experience to people who are behaving poorly. We can't change them or make them behave right. Our model is God. He does not really set limits on people to make them behave. God sets standards, but He lets people be who they are and then separate Himself from them when they misbehave, saying in effect, you can be the way if you choose. You can be that way if you choose, but you cannot come into my house. Heaven is a place for the repentant, and all are welcome. But God limits His exposure to evil, unrepentant people, as should we. Scripture is full of admonitions to separate ourselves from people who act in destructive ways. So Matthew chapter 18, verse 15 to 17, and 1 Corinthians chapter 5, verses 9 to 13. Sorry, I'm having trouble today. We are not being unloving. Separating ourselves protects love, because we are taking a stand against the things that destroy love. So the other aspect of limits that is helpful when talking about boundaries is setting our own internal limits. So we need to have spaces inside ourselves where we can have a feeling, an impulse, or desire without acting out. So we need self-control without representation. So we need to be able to say no to ourselves. This includes both our destructive desires and some good ones that are not wise to pursue at a given time. So it's just, how you always hear that thing from your parents, there's a time and a place for everything, and this is not the time nor the place. So that's where this comes from. Internal structure is a very important component of boundaries and identity, as well as ownership, responsibility, and self-control. So I'm going to leave it there for this week because I'm stumbling a lot. But I am also going to go into the workbook and give you a few questions like I did last week. And you can go on that. Now, we ended with the feelings. So I'm going to do for you today attitudes and beliefs so that you can check that out, look up the scriptures, and really go through yourself. Because this is just for you. This is not for you to do with someone else, or you can do it with someone else, but this is for you to, I guess, do a self-check, or almost like, a self-physical, So attitudes have to do with your orientation towards something. The stance you take toward God, others, life, work, and relationships. So beliefs are anything you accept as true. Although you may struggle to set limits and acceptance or accept appropriate responsibility, know that doing so will save lives. So check out Proverbs chapter 13, verses 18 and verse 24. And it says, here's the questions that I'm going to leave you with, only 2 this week. So, you are the only one who feels the effects of your attitudes and beliefs, and you are the only one who can change those attitudes and beliefs. Which attitudes and beliefs that you hold are causing you to make poor choices or experience pain? What will you do to get those attitudes and beliefs in line with God's truth? And here's the second one. Do you tend to feel responsible for others' feelings, choices, and behaviors? In what areas of your life, or for which people in your life, do you do this? So write a list of those people that you feel like you're responsible for. And it says, what will you do to gain a better understanding of what you really are responsible for? So this is what I'm going to leave you with. You got to think, you got to do, like I said, a self-physical, a self-check, and realize that you're not responsible for anybody's happiness. If someone in your life is making mistake after mistake after mistake, you can only be that shoulder for them. You cannot change who they are. You can give them advice, but you cannot change their behavior. They're going to keep doing it, or they're going to heed your advice, check themselves, and realize the pattern of what they're doing. It's hard. I have the same issue. I feel like I'm that type of person. I like to make everybody happy. I like everybody to be happy. I don't like fighting. I hate war. It's just, why can't everybody just get along? I side with John Lennon in the song that he wrote. Okay? Give peace a chance. Because it's so much easier when everybody's happy. But the problem is, there is people you're going to get that you can't make them happy. And that is not your job. Your job is to be a friend, to love them in spite of themselves. But then, if they are not changing and it's causing you pain and causing your life disruption, that's when you need to start to back yourself off, space yourself from them, and let them know, look, I can't handle this anymore. I've tried to help you out, but you need to do the change yourself. So anyways, guys, I hope this was helpful. I love you guys very much. Please make sure to like, follow, and subscribe. Also, check out my links below for my Instagram and my Twitter, and I have new merch and my PayPal. You don't have to donate, but if you feel like it, it's there. Guys, have a wonderful, wonderful, awesome day. God bless. Bye.